Hey guys, this is my review for One Finger Death Punch. So in this game you play as a little stick-figure person who knows different kinds of kung fu. And basically he just fights off approaching waves of bad guys, either from the right or left side, and you use the right and left mouse button of the mouse to click whichever side you want. So if you right click, he attacks towards the right, and if you left click, he attacks towards the left. And then there's different patterns to some of the people that you have to use, and there's mini boss people who do one-on-one fights while everyone else just sort of watches. And then you have to do it in a certain order, and then the more people you kill in a row, the more the speed of the game increases and the faster people attack at you. And then you've also got different skills that you can unlock to attack more people. And basically they just sort of help you, you can have 3 arrows instead of 1, or kill all the people on the map after a certain amount of people that you kill in the game. They're not the most amazing skills. Basically, to get a skill, all you have to do is find its position on the mini-map when you're playing the story of the game. Even though there is no storyline to this game. Basically, if you were to compare this game to anything else, I'd probably say the most similar thing to it would be one of those free-to-play games on Congregate. I'm not sure if you've ever played one, but basically, I'm pretty sure I've played something that is very, very similar to this on Congregate, where it's just zero storyline and just little 60-second matches, which is basically all this game is. It's just, you start off, there's about maybe 150 stages in the game, and then you just continuously do the same sort of thing, just right clicking, left clicking, and timing it all properly. And basically it gets quite boring. I think I played this for an hour or so, and then I basically hated it, because at first you think it's really interesting and they tell you about the skill points and you're like, oh, okay, a skill point, that would be cool. I mean, I'd be able to upgrade my stats, maybe get a few more kung fu moves or something, but no, it's just finding something on a map, doing that type of mission, nothing really similar. You could just rush straight to the final stage if you wanted to and miss out about, I'd say, at least over double the mission. Well, I mean, probably 3/4 of the mission you don't actually, of the map games, you don't actually have to do. You could just rush to it and only have to do maybe 50-ish missions just to get straight to the finish line. You wouldn't really have to go and get the skills, but the skills are useful and they help you in, I think it's continuous survival mode, which is basically just free play. You fight as many people as you can, and then you just continuously fight. So the game modes they have defensive, which is basically where you knock off people throwing stuff at you, and then you got destructive mode, where you just knock people over, and then when they hit stuff in the background, you have to destroy a certain amount of things in the background. Then you've got just your basic mode, where you just hold off against a certain number of people. Then you got lightsaber mode, which is where you hold off against a certain number of people using a lightsaber, and then you fight a boss at the very end. Then there's nunchuck mode, which is basically the same as lightsaber mode but with nunchucks. And then there's throwing mode, which is where you have to throw knives at people. And then they've also got another throwing mode, which is where you use the bombs instead of knives. And then you've also got speed round, which is basically we have to kill a certain number of people within a certain time limit. I think that's probably... Oh, I think there's also a timer round, which you get 15 people per round. And then at the end of each 15 people, they reset your life, and then you just increase the speed. So it's not necessarily really unique rounds. And then basically you have to do each round a heap of times before you finish the game. So it gets quite repetitive and quite boring, especially since the first difficulty on the first map layout that you play is super easy. I think they call it student level or something, which was ridiculously easy and kind of boring, to be honest, especially when they make the map so incredibly large. But you can play it again after you've completed the student level on a higher difficulty, which I personally hate in games. I mean, if I want to play a game on a harder difficulty, I shouldn't have to work my way up to it, Because, I mean, you're really just making the game boring for me by making it not even a challenge. So playing this game on, like, the easiest difficulty, and then getting the option to play it on a proper, like, slightly harder difficulty, but not that difficult sort of thing. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I get really annoyed at games that do that. I mean, if you play a game, like, completely through, and then they ask you to play again, you kind of want something different or a different experience somehow in the game. Not just playing the exact same missions on a slightly faster speed with, like, not even that harder of enemies. I mean, it wasn't that much of a challenge, to be honest. I definitely wouldn't play this game again after playing it completely through. It's one of those games where you play for like an hour or two and then you just absolutely hate it. So probably for an entire playthrough it takes about 8 or 9 hours to complete the entire map with all the stages and like pass them all and get your random trophies or whatever. They do have a score-based system in this game, but the scores are pointless. Because, I mean, you can't share your score with other players. There's no online match sort of thing, which is another reason why this game just makes me think of Congregate, because they've got a pointless score-based system, which generally on Congregate, when they have score-based systems, it's so that you can like compete with other people, but they don't have any sort of competing in this game. I did like the advanced, I think it's like No Luna No or something like that, which is basically where the developer has taken a picture of a cat and chucked it over the screen, and then while you're fighting you have to wave this cat away so you can properly see what you're doing. I did quite like that mode. That was quite interesting. They do have another mode, which is the moderate one, which is where they take away the little like symbol-y bits, the red and blue lights that show up when people get into your attacking range. They get rid of that, and they also get rid of the colours underneath people who dodge your attacks, which makes it a little bit more difficult, which would have been a lot more fun to play from the beginning rather than having this whole style that they've got going now. I would have also preferred to be able to move my character, because I do get quite annoyed having to wait for people to walk towards you. Also, being able to jump or roll or something would definitely have made it more fun. So the game is kind of basic in that sense, that they've just gone and skipped a whole lot of the things that you'd really expect in a game. Of course, in saying that though, the developer of this game has obviously just made this game for fun. He didn't really like make it as a proper trying to compete with heaps and heaps of other games. I think he like leaves a message at the end of the storyline, which basically he just explains what him and his brother were thinking when they made the game. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool that the developer decided to leave a message for people who played the game. It's pretty cool of him. I personally didn't like that he was like, if you like this game, you should definitely play it on the harder level. It's like, well, I liked the game. I would have preferred to start on the harder level, not have to like work my way up. Because obviously now that I've completed all this stuff, it's been like 8-ish, 9-ish hours playing this game, trying to get good scores, unlock all the skills, try everything out. I get to the finish and it's like, do I really want to play this all over again? No. Because it's just the exact same stuff, exact same map, just a little bit faster speed. It's not that exciting. But still, it's quite enjoyable to watch. The music kind of sucks. I think they've only got like 3 songs in this entire game that they just play on all the stages. And they're not even, I mean, they're quite good when you, like, for the style of game that they're doing, where it's like kung fu-y dubstep sort of styled music. But I would have expected more, especially with the length of this game. I mean, I get that the stages are only like 30 or 60 seconds each to complete, but still, I mean, I would have expected a little bit more. The Kung Fu Master, you're probably going to want to turn his narrations off after like the first 30 minutes of playing this game, because he repeats the exact same stuff every time. There's nothing new. It's not really that random like sort of style. It's basically just him saying the exact same things. It really got on my nerves after about the first hour. of him just going, oh, and by the way, you can do this. But it's the same with almost the stages. They have these little notes that come up that you have to click to say that you like read it, so that the game will start. And then they just continuously repeat the same stuff on the stages. Like in this map, you have to do blah blah blah, whereas you've just played that map like 20 or 30 times already, and they're still saying the same stuff. So that was super lame. Probably other stuff, they have these pro tips on the page, which are more like just random little notes from the developer, and they're not even interesting, they're just boring random crap that they've just chucked in. So I definitely think they could have skipped that, because I don't even think they actually added in a actual tip. It was more like little facts about the game. So I don't think that it was really necessary to add that in. I think that the thing they were doing was just looking at other games and what they were doing and just shoving all these little pointless things into the game. I mean, the gameplay was still fun. It was still a fun game. I just think that they added too much pointless stuff into it and perhaps lost. Like, they probably could have focused a little bit more on making certain parts of it more enjoyable rather than trying to make like loading screens and score screens more exciting. Because I mean, you don't really need a score system in a single player game. It's not that important unless you're actively trying to beat your own like score or pace. But I mean, it's kind of pointless when you have a set number of people that you have to kill. I mean, yes, you could probably get like a few 100 points more in like playing a game again, but I mean, who really wants to do that? I mean, especially when you can just go and play it all over again with more difficulty. I mean, you're not going to just sit there and continuously play the same exact boring thing all over again. But yeah, if I had to rate this game, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. Because it's not the best game. The gameplay is too repetitive for me to really like it. I mean, yes, you do get different layouts on the different stages. The speed slowly increases to give it a slightly harder difficulty. Depending on how well you're going, sometimes you don't do too well, and then it just stays really slow and boring. But, I mean, I would have expected at least some kind of storyline in a game. I mean, I get that this game's like super basic, just 2-button clicking, just watching some little stick figure do like the same kung fu moves and then just chucked an animation over top of them to make it look different. I mean, some of the kung fu moves do look a little bit different, but you don't really notice it when you're playing the game. I think the only time I actually noticed the different kung fu moves was when I was playing the free game mode where you just continuously play, which was when I actually noticed that they random the kung fu style each time you play it, whereas in the story, like mini game sort of thing, which is the proper game mode for this game, I didn't really notice the different kung fu styles because the missions are so short. I mean, when you're playing for like 30 seconds, you don't really notice stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise, I'd only give it a 5 out of 10, because, I mean, I had fun. It was a goodish game. I would have preferred to have some sort of storyline or some sort of continuous sort of progress in this game rather than just some like weird, poorly made map that sort of seemed to be extremely large. But, I mean, it was a fun game. You got me there. I definitely like the cat mode. Cat mode is definitely rage-inducing sometimes, with the cat just constantly covering the screen, and then the guy just continuously repeating the same sentence every time the cat comes on the screen. But yeah. So that's just my opinion of the game. If you don't agree with it or you do agree with it, what you thought of the game in the comments below this video. Otherwise, I'm only going to give it a 5 out of 10. Okay guys, see ya.